It is the trends. It is a freebie. It's Neil Atkinson with Josh Williams. We tend to do this as a subscriber show, but given the current climate and everything that's going on, the fact that Josh is here, and I want to talk to him a little bit about his Substack as well, which is 90% praise, 10% telling off, something for you to look forward to. So that is to come, but we are also supported by NordVPN. NordVPN are a long-time partner of the Anfield Wrap, and it's been brilliant to have them on board all the way through. If you're looking for a way to protect your internet connection or to be able to access material that's available in other territories, and there may be some reasons you might want to do that coming up, feel free to go to nordvpn.com/TAW. At the minute they've got a Black Friday sale on. Black Monday, I don't know where that came from. What's your Black Friday position?
Cyber Monday. What's
your Black Friday position?
I'm actually waiting to buy a new laptop.
Are you?
So I'm actually into it, yeah.
So you're into it, you're in favour of it?
Yeah.
I'm a bit mixed on it. For me, it's far too American.
It is a bit,
because it obviously chimes itself with Thanksgiving and all that sort of stuff. But Nord are fully committed, and trust me, the Anfield Wrap will be as well. So I can think what I like, Josh, but I get overruled by Craig and Connor. So that's that, and by Nord, full stop. So they've got an offer on at the minute that gets you 4 free months if you sign up. So have a little look at that. It's nordvpn.com/TAW, and loads of benefits for that. I've been using it recently, been on holiday to Morocco, and it was immensely useful, to be quite honest with you. Really, really useful indeed. So thank you very much to them, and thank you very much to them for partnering with us. This show's in a number of parts. We're going to do some tactics stuff, we're going to do some stats stuff, we're going to look at the Brentford game, I want to do a little bit on the Frankfurt game, I want to talk about pressures, and then I want to talk about set pieces, and I want to talk about approaches that we're facing at the minute. I'm made up to have Josh with me because we're going to go through all of this. Let's do the basics let's do some slides before we get to the tactics board on this one. Let's do the basics, I think it's worth saying, Josh, around the game against Brentford. First and foremost, it's obviously hugely disappointing from a Liverpool point of view. For me, it's a game that its path is set after 5 minutes. I did a lot of pre-match stuff, some Brentford channels, some Anfield Wrap channels, and whenever at the end of it someone would say score prediction, I said it depends who scores first. And it was therefore a genuine sort of heart-sinking moment when you see the first goal, the timing of it, the nature of it. It was a blow.
Yeah, it's worrying as well, because I think it was kind of, I personally could see it coming. I think the way the game went, I think in the days leading up to it, you just kind of knew it was going to go like that. And I think that's the concern for me. We beat Frankfurt, we smashed Frankfurt, really comfortable, really good performance. And it almost didn't mean too much for me, because I was thinking, we've got Brentford on a weekend. It's away from home. It's going to be very aerial. And it was exactly that. Long throws and all this sort of thing. Liverpool can't seem to cope with that sort of stuff lately. And it's a low-scoring sport, so it doesn't take much for things to go wrong, and that's what keeps happening.
Yeah, the match stats are interesting. The cumulative XG is high for Brentford. It does include the penalty. It's worth pointing that out. And the penalty is obviously a major facet of this. Passing percentage is interesting. Completed, Brentford 67%, Liverpool 82%. We'll come back onto that 67%. Pressures for the two sides about the same. Pressure regains better from a Liverpool point of view, but a lot of that comes down to how you define that and whether or not that's useful, i.e. if Liverpool press a Brentford player deep in his own defensive third, he kicks it up to the halfway line, it goes out for a throw, that counts as a pressure regain. But is the Brentford player happy? Is the Liverpool player happy? I think it's worth sort of bearing that in mind, and that feeds into the pass and completion numbers as well. We'll be coming back onto them pretty soon. Here you've got the race chart, 268, sorry, in the end for Brentford, 2.19 for Liverpool. We're looking at the little Liverpool jump up around 10 minutes. That's when Mo Salah gets put through one-on-one. StatsBomb counted that, I think, as a shot because Salah got his toe to it just as Kelleher was advancing, but it wasn't that much of an attempt. But I'd argue, Josh, it sort of should have been that, and the Florian Wirtz chances in that first 25 minutes I think are both good enough, and they're both good enough players to have found the way to stick that into the back of the net. You know, Uatra's finish is a very good finish. If two of Liverpool's best players had demonstrated very good technique and very good finishes in those moments, Liverpool are 1-1, maybe even 2-1. And you said before, it's a low-scoring sport. You can't be spurning those sorts of chances. No,
it's a bit of a recurring theme lately as well. Liverpool underperforming their expected goals across this kind of dodgy period, if you want. I think we keep seeming to be posting our next year around that, just over 2, but we're scoring like once most of the time. So I do think there's systemic issues in there, and we keep conceding first and things like that. But at the same time, Slot mentions it the other day, and he is right to point out that finishing wise, you know, the likes of Isaac has a one-on-one at Man United, Salah's had a good few opportunities. It's not the team aren't finishing well, I think, is definitely a problem at the moment, on top of everything else that's going on.
I think we can get on to everything else. The other thing that I think is worth pointing out, Liverpool's performance, for me, in the round, Liverpool's performance, you get to see it in that shot map, albeit with the huge jump of the Kirkers chance. Liverpool gets 25 minutes. The only other shot they muster until 65 minutes is one teeny little thing from distance, apart from that Kirkers one. And again, my concern watching that game was I just felt like Liverpool's performance just dropped off a cliff from 25/30 to 60. And it isn't a penalty. It's unbelievably harsh. It's bad fortune combined with everything else. I don't even think the referee wants to give it as a penalty if we're all honest about it.
I don't.
So Liverpool have to cop for that. But it's worth saying, you know, Liverpool from 30 to 60, I'm not saying they necessarily deserved to end up being 3-1 down, but they certainly didn't deserve much in that period, and that was the most concerning period of the game for me.
Well, this is the thing, like, you know, we've been doing this show now for a good while, and a consistent theme has been the idea of a coin flip when it comes to football matches, and you get that in your favour. You almost weight the coin in your favour with your level of performance, your ability to outshoot the opposition, create better chances to the opposition, and you end up getting probability on your side. I think the problem is with Liverpool across this run and across the season as a whole, to be honest, for the most part, Liverpool are just leaning into that element of chance where things like this can just happen, ultimately because Liverpool don't have enough control over the match, whereas a team like Arsenal, it's kind of a non-event. It's a bit boring, but they deliver where it matters. And the idea of there's no jeopardy when you watch Arsenal, and it was City were like that a few years ago. Nothing can really go wrong because they've just got total control. With Liverpool at the moment, you're flipping coins every week, and sometimes it lands on heads, 7 times on the bounce, and sometimes you lose 4 on the bounce, which is what we're navigating at the moment in the Premier League.
You see Brentford's shot map there. It's disappointing from Liverpool's point of view, obviously. Liverpool's is actually all in, quite positive in terms of where they'd like it to be for a match against Brentford, and I think that again this is another one of the things, but it's also worth pointing out there you've still got to stick the ball in the back of the net more often, I'd argue, than Liverpool do.
You've got to find out whether those 3 are Cody Gakpo on the edge there. It's funny, it's quite funny that.
Yeah, the little three there.
Sums them up a little bit, doesn't
it? Probably are all Cody Gakpo. They all look like Cody Gakpo
yeah, they
anyway.
Do.
You get to see the passing networks, and we can begin to sort of represent this a little bit, you know, where Liverpool ends up here. Obviously it includes Bradley in there as well, and it includes a couple of the other lads who don't all get the full duration of the game, so you've got to bear that in mind. But
we are using green.
We're green, yeah, because the Reds played in green for the purposes of this. Obviously Yarmouk's on there, but I've had a look on the Janels Yarmouk thing, doesn't change all that much in terms of where they get on the ball. I think the interesting part for me of where you get to see the Brentford players get on the ball first and foremost is that it sort of suits Damsgaard. That what Liverpool would want is Damsgaard's average position in terms of his passing not to be where it is.
No.
He's too high and too involved, but also that's very similar to what Brentford ended up making happen against West Ham. There's not that much difference as a pass network here, and I think if you're Keith Andrews, that's what you're absolutely delighted with, along with the result. You were able to sort of parallel that performance across the 2 games and look at it and go, well, we did manage to get Damsgaard in action around here, and you can see those pass networks. But for me, there's a thing doing the rounds, Josh. Oh no, let me do this first. I wanted the pressures first. So you get to see Liverpool's press map against Brentford. It's not particularly structured. I think there's a bit of Liverpool looking to harry Brentford in these areas, and then Brentford just send the ball forward. And there's a graphic that's been doing the rounds that shows how much the opposition are sending the ball forward. Every team going more direct in general, but when Liverpool are the opponents, it's intensely more direct. You know, it's intensely more direct.
Passes are a lot longer, aren't they?
The passes are a lot longer, the direction is much more, and there's much more of it coming from deep. And it's a really good little graphic, and there's something similar on StatsBomb, which doesn't tell the story as well, because in this instance, it's the tyranny of big numbers. Last season, the opposition passing percentage in the whole Premier League across all the games was 82% on average. That's what sides would do. Lowest was against Bournemouth, where it was about 78%. Next up was Liverpool, which is about 79.5%. Worst performer was Southampton at 85%. This season, Liverpool are at 70% opposition passing percentage. That's the number of passes the opposition completes against Liverpool is 70%. Doesn't feel like it's that much of a difference, but that's a huge difference from last season to this. Next best, theoretically, is Arsenal, who are at 77%. Burnley are at 85%. So the gap from Liverpool to Arsenal with what the opposition are doing in terms of completing the passes is this first to second in this list is the same as second to 20th in this list. I'm trying to find other ways to contextualise that, 'cause it's difficult to almost visualise this, how stark this is, because it doesn't quite feel like it should be as stark as it is. But this is what Liverpool are facing game in, game out, is sides completing so few passes against them. Brentford this game was 67%. And in theory, that should be a positive. In theory, that should be that you're getting the ball back. But actually, what these sides are doing to Liverpool is hurting Liverpool at the moment.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing about it. I think ordinarily you would paint that as a positive, and you know, the idea that the opposition can't complete passes and they keep giving the ball away, what usually I think would indicate a good press or a lot of intensity that the opposition can't deal with, maybe. But I think in this case, I think in this season, it tells a different story, that they're almost not interested in completing passes, or if they are, they're like the longer passes anyway, as in if they aren't completed, the second balls that they can then pick up. So I think this overall just tells a story that teams are going really long against Liverpool, and Liverpool are struggling to deal with it.
Well, how should they deal with it, or why is that working, or for me, I think this is the crux of a lot of issues all at once, in that I think that this is massively in part to do with game state moments. So I think the first time you get to, there's something tactical Bournemouth do, which is, you know, they pin Semenyo on Kirkes and look to use him as a bit of an outball and hit him. But first half, they don't get tons of joy out of it. It's annoying, but it's not as though you're there going, oh my God, this is killing us. You know what I mean? And also, you've seen that sort of thing before. For me, I think the game where it begins to shift is Newcastle, when they go down to 10 men against Liverpool. They just start launching bombs. And even then, I don't think they get tons of joy necessarily from it. But it's more, I think it's eroding the ability. Like, again, this is the nature of numbers. Virgil van Dijk's very good in the air. He's got a really high aerial win percentage. But if you're having to win 12 aerial duels and your win percentage is 70%, that's 30% of them that you're not winning, which is therefore by extension 4 aerial duels that you're not winning over the course of the game, and therefore someone else is winning. And then also it opens up, even if you win them, the idea of being able to fight for second balls and make it a bit more chaotic. And I think there's that, and then I think the other thing that we're seeing is also it's a perfectly valid tactic to commit to if you're winning in the game. If you're ahead in the game and you're playing Liverpool, you said before about, you know, goals are rare events. Just simply the act of getting the ball as far away from your goal as possible, it isn't inherently bad. And I think that's why Liverpool run into this. I think it's a game state problem, but I do think it is a tactical decision being made by opposition managers.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a throwback, to be honest. I think you could argue there's a little bit of opposition sides identifying that Liverpool's full-back department is maybe a little bit weak. The centre-halves are having to do a bit of extra work, getting dragged out wide a little bit, and ultimately, you know, the players that we've got at full-back are not aerial monsters. They're not particularly tall. I think someone at a team again like Arsenal have centre-halves at full-back, so they can deal with it a little bit easier. But yeah, it's definitely an avenue now into Liverpool's defensive third, and it's working effectively as well, using the channels, and the likes of Semenyo, and in this game it was Schade. They're just rapid as well. They're really, really quick, so you can use the channels, you can get inroads in there. And it's a difficult one to deal with. I'm not really sure where you go with it. I think some of it stems from, if you think of Liverpool's pressing exploits, I think generally we're not as high or as intense as a Jurgen Klopp team. That naturally gives the opposition centre-halves, full-backs, whatever, a bit more time on the ball to actually lift the heads, play it over Liverpool's defence. Maybe you could argue that's playing a little bit of a part, but it's not good. Like, I mean, if you're gonna struggle aerially, the Premier League is the worst place you want to be.
So what's changed? Because I'm looking at this, and for instance, Virgil's like third best performer in the country for aerial wins, and that's a bit of a toss of a coin. Konate is 94th percentile for aerial wins. For aerial win percentage, 83rd percentile. Could we do with that being a bit better? Maybe. You know, but it's still pretty good in there as well. You end up in this situation. I'm saying to you, what do you change? How, if this is going to be an ongoing thing, and I think we can have a conversation about that as to whether or not it is going to be an ongoing thing given Liverpool's forthcoming run of fixtures. But if this is going to be an ongoing thing, then Liverpool do need to have a plan for it. So what do you change? Do you need to press in this area of the pitch like you are, Jurgen Klopp? Like that? Is that one of the ways home here? What is it that Liverpool should change? Do you go high, which Liverpool I think we're trying to do? but then got sprung by the Brentford second goal. But do you look to go high, compress the space and say, well, all right, if you want to try this? You know, what do you do if you're Liverpool if this is happening to you?
No, you know, I'm not too sure. I'm really not. I would have to look at the footage. I would have to watch everything back. This is the one weekend that I didn't watch Match of the Day because I just didn't fancy it.
Didn't have the legs.
Didn't have the legs, yeah. My first thought would be stop it at source, as in stop the long balls where they are, as opposed to stop them where they land or whatever. So you would do that in my head by pressing higher, putting more pressure on the ball player and cutting it off at source like that. But with Liverpool keeping a +1 at the back all the time, their press generally can be easily outnumbered. So to ask them to put more intensity into the press, especially when Szoboszlai's not always a part of it anymore. He was the cheat code. He was your ability to you know, he was kind of two men in the press. So Liverpool keeping a back four intact while pressing high. With Szoboszlai, you could do that because it was like you didn't have that one less man. Now Szoboszlai's playing a bit deeper. Sometimes he's playing right back, so your press can be easily outnumbered. Teams can get out. So the idea of pressing higher and putting more pressure on the ball is ultimately difficult if Slot wants to keep the back four intact, which he's proved very keen to do since his first day in England. So maybe it's kind of the opposition way of exploiting that. Maybe the way around it is Slot sacrificing that. Maybe he pushes someone like a Bradley into the press or someone like a Kerkez into the press, but then you kind of go and you're risking then being outnumbered at the back and your back line and stuff. So I'm not too. Have you got thoughts on it then? I feel like he was teeing me up there, but I'm not too sure.
No, I'm not teeing you up too much. I think that there's. Firstly, I think that the first way to deal with this is the game state question. I think you have to stop conceding first.
But I do think it's happening though at 0-0.
I think it is happening at 0-0, but I think that's because sides feel at 0-0 as though they're getting some joy out of it. I think if you're 1-0 up, first and foremost, you can, when you get the ball back, you've got a lot less urgency in terms of how you're playing. You can choose to look after it a little bit better. So, you know, you can very much Curtis Jones it as we saw it against Frankfurt. You know, that idea of what we're doing is we're just going to look after this for a period. So you don't feel like you're getting as many touches as the ball and you don't feel like you're getting as much joy. So I think that sides will do it at 0-0. But also it's worth saying, and I'm going to come on to it, we just haven't had tons and tons of time at 0-0 recently in the league games. You know, the goals have been so early where we're talking about where it's not worked. You know, Palace scored with the first shot, Chelsea scored with the first shot, United scored with the first shot.
I think Frankfurt did.
Frankfurt scored with the first shot, and I think it might be second shot for Brentford, but it's in the first 5 minutes. So when that's happening to you, we can talk about normal game states, but at the minute, you're encouraging that in a massive way, and also you're coming up against sides who literally want to play that way. You know, put Chelsea to one side, but I think it's quite clear. Amarim's at least short-term plan for United has been to just be more direct, not just against Liverpool, but I think against Liverpool there's a big carrot dangling to say do that, and then it doesn't help further when you go 1-0 down against them. And then I think these other sides that we've talked about, I think that, you know, Chelsea may be to one side, but I think that Palace and Brentford want to be direct football teams. Yeah. I think you look at Newcastle's record at home against sides that play European football in terms of transitional stuff and going back to front. That's what they want to do anyway, but I think it was intensified against us. So that's your first thing. For me, I think that the other part of this is, I think again, if you're 1-0 up, you can say, you've got two options. And this is where I think Liverpool at the minute are falling between stools. In that I think if you're 1-0 up in a game, you're Liverpool, you can go, sound lads, all these boys back here.
Yeah.
Just do it, come on, send it forward. We're all now compact and we fancy ourselves to pick the second balls. We've dropped the line and we've gone from there. But if you're chasing the game and you're a Liverpool team, you can't say we're dropping the line. Yeah. You can't say we're falling back into this. But if you're ahead, you can just simply say, yeah, lads, we've dropped the line. Sorry about this. Yeah, you want to send it. We fancy we'll win the first. If we don't win the first, we'll have numbers around to try to pick up the second and we go from there. But it's different if you can do that. I think the flip side of it is, maybe at 0-0, or maybe what you do is you spend the first 15 minutes of matches doing this.
Yeah.
Certainly away from home, you spend the first 15 minutes going, we're absolutely delighted with 0-0 on 20 and we're going to be really passive about it. And then what we say is we get to 20 minutes and either your thing hasn't worked, but then you've got to be better at defending the set pieces. But either your thing hasn't worked, or we just choose now to say, you know what, up until half time, we fancy it, we're the Reds, we're coming up, we're going to let you know what we're about, and now we're going to press you. And I think being able to, when I see falling between two stools, I think what there's a little bit too much of, there's a little bit too much of trying to do trying to do both, which is ultimately doing neither. I think you either want to be absolutely in their faces, we are not taking any shit, and we're playing for territory as well, by the way, in the first 10 minutes of games. So we're going to kick for touchdown here, or bits, and then we're going to press the fucking life out of you, and then it's just going to come straight back again. You either want to do that, or you want to go, we're back there. I think falling between trying to do a bit of a halfway house, trying to play out a bit but not too much. Do you know what I mean? I think you've either got to commit to one or the other. And I think if Liverpool do commit to one or the other, then I think that they'll get some results. But the best way you get results is don't go 1-0 down.
Yeah. No, the idea of a mid-block, I think, especially at the start of away games, does make some sense. I think that's a decent shout. I think another reason why I think teams are doing this, by the way, is those hoofs in the direction of just over Liverpool's defensive line, but specifically in the direction of the channels. What they are resulting in, especially in the Brentford game, is, let's say Mamardashvili has to come and collect it. The sensible thing ordinarily is just volleying it out for a throw-in. But in this day and age, especially against Brentford, that's what they want. So they're getting long throws out of it. So those long balls, those aimless long balls, because they're kind of in a space that's a bit, uncontrolled by anyone. Kirkers might just hit it out for a throw, Bradley might just hit it out for a throw, and you'd ordinarily take that, but it's resulting in long throws, it's sometimes resulting in corners, and Liverpool haven't really got the makeup to deal with that.
Well, I think they have got the makeup to deal with that, and I'm going to come on to that a little bit, and I think a lot of that's just a little bit overstated. I think Brentford are an extreme example where the long throws are concerned, but I think in general I want to come on and have a little bit of a chat about set pieces, but also there's a little thing here where maybe you just need to work a little harder, that if you are going to kick it out for a throw against someone like Brentford, you just angle it a little bit more, so you buy another 10 yards.
Yeah, but I think it's an also part of thing.
Of course it is, and that's what a lot of football is.
Yeah, it's difficult to think to yourself. In a game like this, you could genuinely argue, if the ball's there and it's contested and stuff, it's better going out for the corner than a throw-in.
Szoboszlai works ever so hard to keep one in and knock it out for a throw. Yeah. And I was like, lads, you just let that go. You just let that go and don't worry about that, because we'd rather defend the corner and go from there. Brentford's actual numbers around corners, they're not that good on set pieces. They're genuinely not that good. But in general, I think, as I say, I want to come on and chat about the set piece bits and pieces. But for me, that's a big part of it, is working those little bits and pieces out. And as I say, I think there's also just a general thing of, and this is part of what I actually think happens on about 30 minutes from Liverpool's point of view. They haven't got the equaliser, and there's just a general, we're eroded a bit here. We're just a bit fucking sick of this. We're not doing it as well now. We're not dealing with the long ball forwards as well now, because you keep having to be right. Phil Blundell's thing on the long throws, and it's a fair point, is you can say that Brentford are really good at long throws, and they undoubtedly are, but one of the things with long throws is if you get 10 of them in a game, you use 10 of them. Liverpool have got to be perfect 10 times, you've just got to be right once. Back to your low scoring sport thing. But there's a reason why, ultimately, people stopped playing for long throws in football. They weren't idiots, the people who said, let's do that less. This isn't football forever. And in fact, I think that the change is overstated, which is an argument we're going to come on to in a little while. I want to get back into talking about this game in a couple of ways. We're going to talk about the pressure frequency there from Liverpool's point of view. And we just said, do you need to press more? Do you need to press smarter? These are the pressing numbers. A couple bounce out at you. Szoboszlai and Wirtz are 27 and 28. Ekitiko, he's 27 over the course of the game. Next one down to Mo Salah, 22.
Mo Salah into the 20s, eh? I think that's the first time that's happened when I've been covering the Trend show.
It isn't the first time it's happened since you've been on the Trend show. It's happened 3 times last season.
Right, okay.
Can you name the games?
Can I name the games? Manchester City?
No. Striking 20 against City, not over 20. So 3 times over 20, 20 plus.
Arsenal?
Nope.
I'm just naming the big games, to be honest.
Well, you're wrong to name the big games. Why they're interesting is the 3 times last season it happens are the games against AC Milan.
Fulham?
No, AC Milan. Away.
Right.
In the Champions League.
We went down to 10 against Fulham, didn't we?
Yep.
So I thought it might have...
No. AC Milan away in the Champions League. Manchester United away in the league last season. And the first home game of last season against Brentford. So the last time Mo Salah pressed more than 20 times in a game, measured by StatsBomb, were 3 of the first 5 matches last season.
That's weird, isn't it?
I don't think it's weird. I think it's, we need you to do this now. And I think if you think about last season, this whole idea of Salah has a bit of a chat with Slot, there's a bit of, do we need to do things a little bit differently? if you release me from this, I can get you more and more stuff. You know, Gakpo's numbers and Diaz's pressing numbers when he plays left-hand side are lower than Diaz's pressing numbers when he plays centre-forward. Gakpo's pressing numbers left-hand side are lower than the centre-forward's pressing numbers, obviously lower than Szoboszlai's pressing numbers last season. Not quite as low as Salah's, but lower. I think it's striking that this is the first game since those games that Salah's put that in. That's either worked on that with Schlott, and we've had a chat about it, or it's Salah, off the back of not being picked against Frankfurt, going, well, I can run round.
Yeah. I'd hope it's a bit of both, to be honest. I do think that conversation has to be had where, like, you know, he's no longer delivering enough to be worth carrying to that extent. I've said that a few times now. So if he now has an agreement with Slot that he now has to work a bit more, I'm all in favour of it. Is that what you're suggesting?
I'm saying it's possible. I'm saying we can't know and we'll never know.
I hope so.
But it is striking, as I say.
Brentford, we did concede 3 on the back of it.
First home game, Brentford. Second, 2 away games back-to-back, United and Milan. I think it's only about 21 and 23 in those games, but they're the 3 games last season where he does higher than 20 in terms of number of presses, and he's done it there against Brentford away in this one.
Yeah.
And it's just something that is striking, and this show is called The Trends, and we'll keep our eye on it and go through it.
Well, it will be worth keeping an eye on. It'll be very interesting to see if that's the same next week.
Yeah, so you get to see, I've just got a little thing here from StatsBomb, which is Gakpo's pressures from last season. You can see that they sit around 16, 17 a game, not tons, not high, by virtue of the position. And this is Salah's pressures average from last season, sits at around 13 over the course of the campaign. Lots of positive stuff in there from Salah, but it is worth saying that 20 therefore is 50% more than 13 as you work your way through. I want to do Frankfurt. The reason I want to do Frankfurt was I think it pulls in a couple of the other things that we've been talking about together. Obviously Liverpool are markedly better than them. Frankfurt's passing percentage is 81%, which is the average Liverpool faced last season. I think helps. Game state stuff helps, obviously, within there, and you get to see the race chart here. Liverpool pull it back to 1-1, and then they go on and manage to get themselves to 2.88 versus 0.3.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a great performance. I thought Frankfurt played into our hands, to be honest. I think the idea of a long ball seemed alien to them. They seemed intent to keep it on the floor. And
they were trying to do this channel a bit, this side.
Yeah,
they were trying to do that channel a bit, that side.
I was sat there, so I saw the Christensen finish in off the post. Very annoying. But yeah, they were using the wide area certainly, but you know, overloads and overlaps and all that sort of thing, and it did cause some problems for Liverpool. But generally, the ball was on the floor. They were building through the thirds, and that presented, I think, Liverpool with a platform for the likes of Jones, the likes of Szoboszlai, to really press them, regain the ball, and then start the next attack. And I think where the race map starts to climb for Liverpool, that was around the time when Frankfurt just couldn't escape their own half, really, and Liverpool started to really pen them in, smother them, and create chances all the time. And
but I think the game state obviously helps.
But Liverpool go a goal down.
They go a goal down, but the game state that they get into in the second half does help.
Yeah. I mean, it always will, but I think generally the playing style of Frankfurt, I think Liverpool probably, based on how we've performed so far this season and what we're struggling with and stuff, I think Liverpool will look better in Europe versus the Premier League, simply because of the direct nature of the Premier League at the moment, the aerial stuff, the set pieces, the throw-ins. I don't think you're going to see as much of that from a typical European team. So I think we'll look better than the Champions League for that reason.
Yeah. Manager spoke afterwards, and so this is the bit where you get told off.
Okay.
Not told off. It's overstated. You love an attention-grabbing headline on your Substack, don't you?
Well, what was it this week?
Chopping block, and should Arne Slot be sacked?
Yeah, but that's. I mean,
it's just huge. Do you know what I mean?
I'm coming from Reach, by the way, mate.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, you know what I mean. You can take the boy out of Reach, but you can't take the Reach out of the boy.
I know, there's a little bit of echo in me. That's the problem.
It'll always be in there.
Yeah.
Honestly,
yeah.
You know, your piece was. When I saw the headline, it popped up. I thought, fucking hell, where's Williams ended up? And then I read the piece, and it was all perfectly reasonable.
Yeah. Well, it always will be.
Your Substack's very good, by the way. You should subscribe. Subscribe to Josh's Substack. It is very good. It's nowhere near as, you know, it's not that. I want you to get the wrong idea.
I headlined the piece once, Darwin Núñez ruined my life. And it wasn't quite that when you read the piece, but the idea is that'll get you in the door at least.
So there you go. Josh's Substack is out there for that, asking big questions about Arne Slot. The manager's obviously not getting everything right at the minute, and that's perfectly reasonable to say. No manager gets everything right all the time. I did something yesterday with second captains where I made the point that they were saying that Arteta's changed the nature of English football, and I was saying back in February, I'm pretty sure I did second captains, and you were all treating Arteta like he was a bit of a joke because of what he was saying in press conferences. Yeah. You can't have it all your own way. Guardiola has a bad season last season. I think he'd admit that. I can think of a couple of seasons where Jurgen Klopp has a bad season. Managers aren't, even very good managers aren't perfect all the time. I've got a minor worry at the minute.
With Slot?
Which is, I'm actually against this fixation he's got on the set pieces from an attacking point of view. So we get the result we get against Frankfurt, and part of the thing he says straight afterwards is, not unreasonably, but is, you score a couple of set pieces and the game's easier. Well, I don't disagree with that. You score a couple of set pieces and the game is easier. But Liverpool won the league last year. And last season, this was Liverpool's record from set pieces. You can see the shot map now. 8.68 expected goals from set pieces, 6 goals from set pieces in the period up to when the league was won.
This is attacking them?
Attacking them, right, against Tottenham. That's what Liverpool had last season from set pieces in the period up until the game against Tottenham. I'm not that interested in the 4 games afterwards. That's long been the position of this show. The 4 games afterwards, they're very difficult to analyse. I'm dropping that in there because, sorry, quickly, there's the pass network for Eintracht Frankfurt versus Liverpool in the first half. Number of set pieces Liverpool scored when they were winning games last season? 1. On a set piece XG of 2.98. Number of set pieces Liverpool scored, again, this is only up to the period against Tottenham when they were losing last season, is 2. 1.42 XG. One of those was obviously absolutely, well, a couple of them were absolutely critical. One of them is Jota's headed against Nottingham Forest. Really important. Number of set pieces that Liverpool scored when they were drawing last season. 3. 4.28. 3. So the manager's saying at the minute, we need to get better from set pieces. And I want Liverpool to get better at everything. But last season, in the period of time when Liverpool won the league, from the set, according to what qualifies for a set piece from StatsBomb, Liverpool's expected goals from set pieces was 4.28. Their number when the games were level, so game-breaking goals. When the game's level, 4.28, number of goals 3.
Right. You saying that's not enough?
I'm saying we won the league.
Despite it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so if you're saying that this is the thing that we absolutely have to fix, if that's your thing that we absolutely have to fix, I feel I'm within my rights of saying, last season we weren't that good at it, but we won the league.
The only thing I'd point out is last season, I think we conceded from our first corner against Ipswich at home. We were 4-0 up at the time, and that was late in the season. So I think Slot has always been keen on the idea of at least a level pass, set piece balance.
I'm 100% with that.
Yeah.
This is not my concern here. And my point, genuinely, absolutely with that. Not going to argue with that. I think you should, as a manager, as a club, as a side of Liverpool, but if you want to play the way Liverpool play, like I don't think if you're playing the way Arsenal are playing, and the way Arsenal have looked to play for, I would say, since the start of last season, I think it would be unfair to include 23-24 in it, but I think since the start of last season, I think if you're Arsenal, you need to have a positive set-piece balance by the end of the season, given the way you play. Liverpool last season were par. Same number scored, same number conceded over the course of the campaign.
Yeah.
And I think if you're Liverpool and you want to play the way Liverpool want to play, then that's absolutely fine.
But we're negative at the moment, aren't we?
We are. But the way you fix that is stop fucking conceding the things. And eventually, in the fullness of time, you'll get a few back going the other way.
Yeah.
This is my thing here, is that, as I say on the manager, this is where my thing at the minute is, of course, I'd love to score. I'd love us to score from every corner. Who wouldn't? It's football. You want to score goals. Goals are great. They make a difference. Liverpool won the league last season in the games that mattered, with an XG from corners of 4.2 and a number of goals of 3 when it was drawing. So why is that the focus on game-breaking goals?
Because I think this season, obviously, Liverpool are conceding more from set pieces, so the balance is negative. On top of that, it's not even his responsibility, I would say. The set pieces, that's Aaron Briggs. That's what Aaron Briggs does. Slot focuses on the open play side. As of this summer just gone, Aaron Briggs has been given that role permanently. And if you look at the open play stuff alone, open play goals only, Liverpool would be second in the league, level on points with Arsenal. So you could argue, in a weird sort of way, set pieces are literally the difference between Liverpool being level on points with Arsenal and being where they currently are.
Yeah, I'm fine.
So,
that's fine.
Yeah.
But last season, you could argue, and indeed, the fucking facts bring you to the point
do you
of...
think the landscape's flipped up a little bit this season in England, English football, where the league's just suddenly, literally a set-piece game?
Well, we're going to come on to that in a minute.
Okay.
In that, I think it's overstated, and I think the numbers tell you it's overstated.
Okay.
So we'll come on to that in a minute. But, I mean, maybe I'm doing this the wrong way around, but we'll come on to that in a minute, because the numbers, for me, tell you that that is overstated currently as it stands.
Okay.
I think Liverpool have run into some teams that are good at set pieces. I think Liverpool are having hard lines from set pieces and aren't good enough defending them at the same time. But at the minute, I think in the round that is ever so slightly overstated because of an extreme overperformance by a couple of clubs in there, and also by virtue of the drama that is being and this is part of my point of Slot talking about them. Everyone, not just Slot, but everyone is now, I think part of the reason why everyone's decided is, and England is more of a set piece place than anywhere else, and it was last season, but everyone is now so set piece focused that the drama of the set piece is part of what's leading to the feeling. This is one of those where, for me, facts don't necessarily like your feelings. They do a little bit, but nowhere near as much as it feels at the moment with the conversation around English football as a whole. I want to keep moving through a couple of things. So this is Liverpool's shots from open play this season. XG, when they've been drawing in games, they've scored 5 from 3.07. I'd say that's not enough. And
just quickly on that, I'd say that's a pretty poor shot map for being level par all season. I mean, there's literally not a single tap-in.
Yep.
You could say there's nothing in the 6-yard box at all, not even one.
That's what I think.
So
the manager's doing press conferences and he's saying we've got to get better from set pieces, and I'm looking at that going, I'd like to get better at creating good chances.
Yeah, both.
And this is both, of course, both. What do you want to get? I want to get better at everything. You name a thing in football, I want to be better at getting in the referee's ear. You name a thing in football, I want to get better at it. But this is my point. When the manager's coming out and saying, understandably, we got it, because he's looking at what's working. And this is my point here, is I think that the manager's brilliant, but he can be grabbed along with what's as voguish as everybody else. And he's looking at Arsenal scoring 9 goals in 9 games from set pieces, thinking, that looks fucking great. I'd love some of that. Can I have some of that, please? Because it will make everything else easier. And the same thing that I've just talked about before, about it's easier to play football when you're ahead. So then, Eintracht Frankfurt happens, Liverpool go 1-1 on the counter, go bang, bang off set pieces. He comes out, that second half was a dream. Do you know why it was a dream? We scored 2 headers.
Yeah. And the opposition didn't go along though as well, so it was literally an ideal game, to be honest.
But he gets to sort of live that reality, so it's even more in his mind. But my thing at the minute is, your point on that shot map that we can see right now, it's not good enough.
No, it's not.
It's not good enough.
No.
And part of that is because Liverpool haven't had as much time as you'd like levelling games recently. Part of that is that when Liverpool have got themselves back to even in games recently, they've been fucking dire, if we're honest about it. And they were crap when they got back to 2-1 against Brentford, when it should have been, they come out second half and go, okay, let's have a little look. You know, I'm happy to be very critical of Liverpool in terms of what you're seeing on the pitch, but that's what you're seeing at the minute. But in our heads, because we're watching Arsenal, because we're Liverpool supporters, we're conscious of it. And the manager keeps bringing it up, all we're thinking about is fucking set pieces. No, that.
Yeah.
And then you move along, you look last season, drawing shots against to win the leagues. This is Liverpool last season, win the league last season, Liverpool. And it's an unbelievable performance. When Liverpool were drawing in games, this is your shots against map. And Liverpool last season have faced an expected goals of 9.25, conceded 17.
Wow. I don't remember that.
That's hard lines, isn't it?
That was last season?
Last season. That's up until when the leagues won. Unbelievable hard lines.
Mad,
yeah.
Alisson Becker, what are you doing, mate?
This season, Liverpool drawing shots against. So when Liverpool have been level in games this season, 4.22, 7 goals against so far. But to your point, look how much is in that 6-yard box.
Yeah.
This season. Flip that the other way around with what we're seeing. So much in that 6-yard box. Obviously that includes Caicedo rifling one in, but look how much of that's in that 6-yard box. And that is rightly a concern over the course of the season. But this was Liverpool last season, 9 games against when drawing, the shots that they conceded. So this season so far it's 4.22, last season 2.14 over the course of it. 3 goals conceded this season, 7 so far. This is Liverpool's shots against last season from set pieces when they were drawing in games up until when they win the league. Okay, so the 34 games. Set pieces, Liverpool's expected goals 2.28, number conceded 4 over the course of the season. This is Liverpool's set pieces so far this season from the first 9 games of the season. So you can see that Liverpool are conceding more opportunities to the opposition because it's 1.51, but the number conceded is 4. It's exceptional variance.
Yeah. Is that including throws?
Yeah.
Right. See, there's definitely some variance in there, I take your point, but at the same time, those long throws especially cause chaos, and the results in headed shots, which generally are undervalued, well, not undervalued, they're just valued low because they're generally hard to score. But them long throws, if they're coming in at an angle, pace, and you're getting a nick on it with your head, and some of the, that will result in an overperformance, won't it? So,
well, we think it will do. We've got to see it come out in the fullness of time, and it may well be, and I think there's loads of little bits of this in the data, which is it might be that at the minute, the long-term measurement around certain types of efforts is currently underrating them in terms of the value. I think that that's very possible, and we have to allow for that. But, part of what I'm sort of arguing here is that when you have a look in the round as to where you end up on, stuff that's related to the shot map, you can just, you can find yourself, if you're not careful, almost driving yourself a little bit mad with it. Because it's still, whilst it's over the course of the season, Liverpool do not want to end up in a set-piece XG situation in games at their level, where they're, conceding twice as many as they did last season in terms of chances on the way towards winning the league, and especially if we do think they're a little bit undervalued. But they won't be wholly, massively undervalued. Football has happened for ages, and there's so much of that data in this system. Different things have been voguish at different moments, and there's so much of that data in this system. I think that within it, it's, it is just a little bit important, I think, not to...
It's weird, because I think what we're kind of concluding here, what we're kind of summing up, is that Slot's kind of having a go with the set-piece department, isn't he? Basically saying that, if the set pieces were working, we'd be fine. And what we're kind of concluding is, no, the set pieces is shit and the open play is shit. That's kind of what we're saying, innit? We're kind of saying both departments are broken.
But we're also saying that last season, the open play, and I think that there's a lot to be said for Christ, Salah didn't have kicking in the goal a lot, but the open play last season was better.
Yeah.
The set pieces were a teeny little bit better. Only a teeny little bit, but the open play last season was better.
Yeah.
And this is where, for me, what are we fixating on and why are we fixating on what we're fixating on? And I just sort of wonder if Liverpool, first and foremost, need to sort out what they're doing with these aerial bombardments, but secondly, need to focus on what they're good at. Part of what's happening at the minute is why Arsenal are doing really well at the minute is they're focused on what they're good at. Arsenal, I refuse to believe Mikel Arteta is unbelievably doing his own head in with how little they're creating from open play. Arsenal will be focusing on what they're good at.
Yeah, doubling down.
Yeah. Why aren't we doubling down?
Well, I think there's a lot of reasons why. Since last season, Liverpool have suddenly got to a point where we're no longer that good in open play, and I think it's because of the plays that we've got, the mixing up that you've done. There's not a lot of complimenting going on in there. The league stylistically has flipped a little bit. To become a bit more physical, a bit more aerial and stuff, so Liverpool have less control over games. I thought it was interesting in Frankfurt. It's arguably the best Florian Wirtz has played, and it's the most control we've had over a game, where we have lots of possession. The ball spends most of its time in the Frankfurt half of the pitch, and you can dictate from there, whereas in other games, you haven't had that control, so Wirtz is
but you did have
between posts.
This is where, and as I say, this is why to me, and what I want to try to do with this show, you had it from 5 to 25 against Brentford. We both agreed earlier on that Liverpool should have converted 1 or 2 quality opportunities with the nature of the players and when they were put in that position. And this is why, again, to go back to doubling down on what you're good at, this is why I think Liverpool, and why I'm annoyed with Liverpool from 25 to 60 in the Brentford game, is they got in their heads it was Brentford's game and not Liverpool's. They acceded to Brentford's reality. For an extended period, and they went, oh, all right, it's like this then. It's another one of them that's like this today. Is it fucking hell? this is why you double down on what you're good at the minute.
But what are we good at the moment?
But I think you got to see it against Frankfurt, you got to see it against Brentford for at least a 20-minute period of controlling the game, moving them around, being able to pick your moments and being able to create opportunities. Yeah, but your accurate point is to say, but you need to be able to do something when the opposition create chaos. My concern at the minute is mentally, I think Liverpool are too open to, it's another fucking game where it's chaos, is it? And not open enough to. And if you think about those, you mentioned City sides before, because I think the way City and Arsenal, the way Arsenal are doing it now, and it's worth saying there's been a lot of pairing about Arsenal at different phases the last 2 years, maybe even 3, and it hasn't resulted in a league title yet. They're now rightly favourites for this season. But the way City used to do it and the way Arsenal used to do it now, they're actually quite different. But what City would do is they'd relentlessly have the idea of, no, our football's going to work.
Yeah.
We're going to keep playing our football and our football's going to work. And one of the things I'm seeing at the minute from Liverpool is, and when the manager says post-match, all we did, and it's fine, this, and I'm sure it's happened to loads of Liverpool teams in the past, it's not been said publicly, all we worked on pre-match was set pieces. He's saying that because he's just watched his side exposed to set pieces. He's also saying it because it's true. To which I'd say, well, might we have been better off saying, well, the set pieces are going to be fucking chaotic. Why don't we work on retaining control as much as humanly possible?
Yeah.
Now, I'm not a fucking football coach. He is, and he's a genius, and I'm not. But my thing here is the mentality I'm worried about is that we're getting dragged into. There's so much aerial bombardment, and the throw-ins are dead hard, and this is all really difficult. And I don't want to be playing today at Brentford, rather than let's fucking impose our will on Brentford, and the game will be played on our terms.
Yeah,
we'll have a rocky first 5, we'll have a rocky first 10, but we'll play on our terms.
I think that's the problem though, like we can't get the game played on our terms at all, and we haven't all season. There's been the odd spell.
Yeah, but
when?
We did.
When?
Against Brentford. We've just said there was 20 minutes where it was played on our terms.
Yeah, but that's 20 minutes, and we had a good half against Everton. I asked you the other day on the Friday night that, like, you know, have we looked like title winners? And you separately pointed out like spells in games where we've looked good, halves where we've looked good, but the only game for me where we've controlled the game has been Frankfurt and possibly Burnley, because Burnley just, you know, turned up for a draw sort of thing. But generally speaking, we haven't got control over games.
I think if you take the game against Everton and put it into any moment of last season, it looks like a game from last season.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that's worth pointing out. So I think Everton therefore gets lashed on the list, and in tons of ways that's what should theoretically be one of the hardest to control. But Liverpool contain Everton over the course of dominate Everton for 45 minutes and then contain Everton for 45 minutes with one lapse, which results in it going 2-1. So I think you've got that one in there. I think you can go back to that Arsenal game and look at that. But I think that the defining factor in these other games, and it's completely understandable, by the way, because they're the champions, heads are all over the place for a variety of reasons. There's new players in here as well. There's the unspoken matter that, you know, is there and is ongoing. There's the pressure of being champions. But the thing is, they keep playing, conceding early. In these games, the pattern is that they concede early. They then, in each of them, I think, have a bit of a spell at some point in the game, you know, where they are the better side. And then one of the things that then happens is, one way or another, they lose that spell and they really struggle to get it back. And I think that that's as much a mental problem as it is a tactical problem.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to see us address. And I think that if we can address that, then we'll be in a position where where what you want, we'll get more of, but we'll just do it our way. If we try to become, in any way, shape or form, akin to these sides that are currently doing better than us, we'll just be a tribute act, we'll be a karaoke version, we'll be nowhere near as good.
No, I agree with the argument that, like, you know, we shouldn't try to become Arsenal, and Slot should maybe lose the obsession with set pieces and things like that. I agree with that. But to a certain extent, every single team in the league wants the game to be played according to their terms. Well, you need to be good enough to make it happen on the pitch. And I think this is the problem with Liverpool this season. At best, have been good enough to make it happen for 45 minutes at a time. And the spells lately where we've looked good, like the Brentford spell, it's kind of inevitable if they're winning. If they're winning the game, it's kind of inevitable that they're just going to cede. They're going to give you an element of control with possession, because there's no onus to attack anymore. So,
and then they're going to do the long ball stuff, but then you've got to make it. But my point is that when you have those spells, Everton's a great example of it. You know, there's a universe where the first one comes through for Ekatike, for Gravenberch, and he gets through one-on-one and it clips off the post and goes wide. Pickford gets something to the Ekatike effort, if I remember rightly. There's a universe where that, you know, we've seen Pickford play well against Liverpool a number of times in the past. That one hits Pickford, and suddenly that doesn't go in, and suddenly it's 0-0, and suddenly there's concerns in there. My thing is, you said before, that open play level shot map has just got to be better.
Yeah.
That's in your line on, you know, where you are on the tossing of the coin. Liverpool have got to find their pathway through to when the game is level, getting beyond the coin toss. They've got that, and that's the plan. Now, part of that is defend set pieces better, but my argument is I don't think it's necessarily attack set pieces better. I don't think that's as important. I think defend set pieces better, yeah, 100%, because that's part of why you keep conceding early.
No, I agree with you. I agree. If that's your point, I agree.
No, that is that's my overarching thing here, is that a lot of this just, and that's for me, that's what I want to see the focus be on. Not least because, you know, we'll sort of spool through drawing set piece shots against Liverpool so far this season. I said before 1.5 to 4, so Liverpool, you can say they have a little bit of hard lines. This is last season's set piece XG. You get to see Arsenal performing the best. Liverpool are about the 7th worst set piece XG conceded last season. This season, Arsenal performing the best, and it's worth saying the axis at the bottom has gone bigger because Arsenal are doing that well. Liverpool about the 7th worst. It's the same. It's the same. Yeah. Set piece XG conceded last season. Liverpool were the second best, better than Arsenal last season on that metric. This season, Liverpool not as good, ultimately not as good, but about 7th best. Up there towards the top. Arsenal doing the best so far this season. City pretty consistent year on year, it's worth pointing out. City haven't scored a goal yet from a set piece this season.
No.
They haven't scored one.
No, it's interesting.
Over the course of it.
Guardiola's not mentioning it.
Guardiola's, well, he's got other things to talk about. This is the median set pieces. We always do means, but I wanted to do median. This is the median set piece after 9 games last season, 10th and 11th place for XG created. That's the red number there in the middle. I know the graph's difficult. 2.48 for Newcastle United, 2.22 after 9 games for Crystal Palace last season. That was 10th and 11th place. 10th and 11th place this season for XG created is West Ham at 2.52, who, by the way, have conceded 10 from set pieces off an XG of 4.45.
Yeah.
To AFC Bournemouth 2.49 so far this season. So the median there has gone up about 10%. So set pieces on the median scale. That's throws, that's direct free kicks in, direct free kicks and corners.
XG wise or
XG
goal
wise, it's gone up about 10%.
What about goals? Do you know?
I can get that in a minute for
because
you.
That overperformance against West Ham in particular is interesting to me, because it goes back to what I said before about like headers getting not particularly valued, but West Ham conceded 10 from 4 expected goals. You know, are we navigating a landscape at the moment where there's still similar shots that have always came before, but they're getting converted more because, you know, there's just chaos in the box. There's chaos with these long throws. There's chaos with the physicality in there and how teams are using these setups and stuff like that. So it'd be interesting to see.
I had it before, but I'll get it for you right now. I've obviously got to literally do this live on the set piece thing. So if you want to talk amongst yourself about your Substack for a second, that'd be great. Yep. Last season, the median was 2 clashing into 3. And this season, so far, the median is 2 clashing into 3.
For goals?
For goals.
Right, so nothing's changed in that
No,
sense.
it's a little bit more, it's a little closer to 3 this season, but it's not massively closer. Again, it looks like about a 10% difference, obviously, because this is actual goals. You don't get the you don't get the points. But it's so the average 10th, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 is Villa. Last season at this point, who were on 2, and 11th, or the other way around, sorry, it probably should be, is Manchester United, who were on 3. And last season, so that's 8th is on 2, 9th is on 2, 10th is on 2, 11th 3, and 12th 3. And last season it was 8th was on 2, 9th was on 2, 10th was on 2, 11th was on 3. It was just a little bit more slated, because what I'm going to come on to is this, that ultimately, and I've not got a lovely little slide for this, so I apologise to people, but ultimately, last season, the top 9 at this point, after the first 4 games, the top sides for XG goals after the first 9 games of the season, Arsenal, Leicester and Nottingham Forest all had 4. This season, Arsenal have scored 9, Chelsea have scored 7.
Right.
So far this season. So that's a massive and significant overperformance year on year. But the next one down then is Tottenham with 5, and then you've got Bournemouth with 4, Brighton with 4, Leeds with 4. So yeah, there is a little bit more at that top end of the ball going in the back of the net. But if you take the top 2 out, so I've just done this, the average set-piece goals after the first however many games last season, so far this season is 2.9. Last season it's 2.2 at this point. So I did these numbers before, I haven't got a slide for this.
Okay, I can't see it anyway.
It's fine. Well, I'm worried about them. If you take the top 2 out of Chelsea and Arsenal, take them out, this season it's 2.38. My contention is because Arsenal in particular, but also Chelsea to an extent, and there's 1 or 2 times elsewhere in games, Tottenham being a good one this weekend against Everton where they net a couple, because there's moments and because of the way sides are spending so long on set pieces, prepping for set pieces, pulling set piece things together, I think it feels set pieces are more impactful this season, but I think the feel is hugely more impactful than the reality. Unless you're Arsenal.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree. I just point to games like, say for example, Sunderland against Chelsea recently. They end up winning that game, don't they?
Yep.
2-1, I think it was.
Yep.
They get back on level terms with a long throw, and I think it's a way for the weaker sides, the more inferior sides, maybe to bridge the gap between your Chelseas and your Liverpools and things like that. And the previous iterations of those sides, like a Norwich or Company's Burnley or something, or Russell Mountain, Southampton, just weren't using things like that.
I think there's definitely...
So it's leveled the playing field a little bit, is what I'm saying.
I think the other thing that's happening, that's a little bit, again, is also the case, is I think that sides have got, and this is one of the reasons why a couple of goals don't qualify in the StatsBomb things, it's the number of times when the seconds when the set piece is taken. I think sides have got a better plan as to how they're going to recover the second and then do something to you with the second.
It's
worth pointing that out as well, and that's part of it, and that's part of creating the chaos. But my thing here is, the best way to rise above this is to rise above it. Average set piece XG so far this season is 2.74. That's for everybody. And last season, that's 9 games in, last season after 9 games it was 2.53. Is it more impactful? Yeah. But is it that much more impactful? And I think that you can make an argument that actually I'm wrong, and yet it is. But just be clear that the numbers, unless we're arguing with the measurement, with the nature of how this stuff's measured, the numbers are telling you that it's more impactful, and it may well be more impactful in moments, and it might feel more dramatic, and it might feel more stark. But the truth is that the numbers are pointing towards it is more impactful. It's just not everything. And that's my argument with this whole show.
Yeah.
Is that it's not everything.
No, it's not everything. I agree with that.
And if you're not careful, but also in general for the sport, I'm worried about the fucking sport, but that's separate.
I think I'm a little bit worried that right now, though, it's a terrible time for it to be your Achilles heel, if it is. So if this is an area that you don't dedicate much time to, or you're a little bit weak on, or whatever, or in Liverpool's case, you've gone and signed Frimpong, who's 5'6", Kerkez, who's not the most physically imposing, and Milos and Florian Wirtz, who's relatively slight, and you've gone towards this landscape where it's so physical, so aerial, you're naturally going to feel it a little bit, maybe even a tiny bit more than last season. Yeah.
No, I'm with that. And I made the argument all the way through the summer. I wasn't sure about Frimpong in the context of you've got McAllister, you've got Wirtz, you've got Salah. You're not going to be the biggest side. Kerkez is diminutive as well, if we're all honest about it. Listen, and this is why this is people who've been listening to the Anfield Wrap will know for years I'm obsessed with the fucking big man. I love a big man. Give me a big man, and I'm delighted. That's loads of ways. This is the sort of football that I can get into. The sort of football that you're seeing right now. I don't like the delays. Genuinely, my biggest issue with the set piece thing and the phenomena,
the towels and all that,
it's how fucking long everything takes. The game, football works best as a game of continuous motion. But yes, set pieces are important, and having big players who can win physical duels. Listen, I love it. For me, that's my football in a number of ways. It's always the way I want to go. I don't like the delays. I don't like the drama. And I think that at the minute, if you're not careful, by virtue of this set-piece focus that everyone's doing, so I understand why it seeps into the manager, because every time he switches on Sky to watch a game at 4:30, what's everyone banging on about? What's everyone highlighting? But also, I think that suits a punditry class that finds it harder to actually talk about a game that's full of fast motion, other than impairing terms, and why that's happening and why that press and trigger and all of that, because that's difficult to know. But it's dead easy to say that Van der Ven put a little shove on Pickford and nodded it in.
Yeah.
That's dead easy. So we end up with more and more focus, but obviously if Van der Ven scores 2 from corners, then that's rightly the focus. My point is, it's what I wouldn't want anyone to do is overstate this. Listen, I'm going to end up with 2 slides. First 9 last season, when Liverpool were drawing, these were Liverpool's shots. All shots for the first 9 when the games were level. That's last season. XG 6.04, number of goals 7, and a couple of pens in there, yeah?
A few tap-ins?
Yeah, a few tap-ins. That's it if you take the set pieces out.
Okay, still a few tap-ins?
It's the same, it's the same fucking picture.
Yeah.
And therefore...
But we've lost, I think what's happened is we've lost the perfection of the open play, and set piece-wise, the landscape has, in my opinion, it has been
a
little bit more.
My argument isn't that it hasn't changed. It has changed.
Yeah, so that's the slight adjustment you've gone to though, where Liverpool's open play stuff has dropped a little bit because of the changes in the team, and the set piece thing as the drama of it or whatever has increased a little bit, and it doesn't take much to get to a point now where you're sat 9th or whatever we are, and I haven't even looked at the table. I don't want to see it.
We're not as low as you think, but
okay. Good. Yeah, it's messy though. It's not a healthy shift for Liverpool to.
But I'd rather have that.
Yeah.
Than one more goal from a corner.
No, I would absolutely. And I think if you fix the open play stuff, you'd face fewer corners and fewer long throws anyway, because you'd have more control over the game. So, yeah, if your argument is look in the mirror a bit more, I'm not against it. Ari Arneslot.
It's been the Trends.